Welcome to United Way Community Connections. We're glad you joined us, and with me today is my colleague and my co-worker, Zana Renfro, who is the campaign manager and marketing director of United Way, campaign director and marketing director. So she has two
jobs to do, and it's okay.
So we're going to talk about campaign, which she does a lot of right now, and we're also going to talk about the marketing, what she's doing with that. And the way Zana gets dumped on, I guess, is because she was there. She loves to do the outside work with the marketing, and we didn't have a marketing person, and so we did not replace that person. And Zana is two people in one, so we're glad of that. And she does both jobs very well.
Well, and part of it is staying in line with what the community and other businesses see. A lot of people have seen in their business downsizing and double duties and jobs, and it was proper for that decision to be made by the board of directors and us to take it on. That we're sensitive to that, and we want to make sure we're spending the money best we know how. So it's just a new way to look at it.
And I think it serves us well because with our job, you don't do just one thing, because when you have three folks on board, you have to do a little bit of all of it. And I think that's the thing that keeps it so interesting for all of us, is because it's not monotonous. And so let's talk campaign. Campaign means money, and I know you love that money.
Yes, I do. Last year, I came to work for United Way in April of last year, and my challenge, it was a new position, my challenge there was to obviously get those totals up and raise $1 million. And I came from a fundraising background, volunteer-wise and professionally. So it was right up my alley anyway, and we raised $1 million last year and had a great campaign, had lots of new folks, a lot of new awareness out there. And then this year, my focus was in line with what the board of directors, United Way board of directors, were wanting to do, was focus in three different focus areas. And with that, I think you have to make the decision to come look at fundraising in a very different way. After 9/11 and Katrina, I think all fundraisers and nonprofits were looked at very differently. The United Way Board of Directors realized that a little bit earlier than those disasters happened and decided to hire a campaign manager, which is the position that I hold. But I think folks now, dollars are fewer, folks hold them a little closer to their hearts, and they really want to know where their money goes. So I think part of my role this year has been going out into the community, talking to people that already give to United Way, but also looking for other folks who have not given, and at the same time giving them information about what we do, who we help, and hopefully making a new advocate out of them to be able to service people that are in need and they don't know where to turn.
And so many folks in our community do not know where to turn. Of course, our office number is a good resource for them in calling to see if they can get help somewhere, and we can always make those referrals. So I think fundraising centers on being out in the community and educating the folks on and telling them. I think probably more in the last 5 to 10 years, I have discovered people are not giving to just everything that comes by. They're asking, what are you doing with the dollars I gave you? And I think our outcomes measurement has made a great deal of difference, made it easier for us to tell them, this is exactly what your donation is doing in our community right here at home.
Well, and people that give small amounts to large amounts want to know that. They want to know, where does my money go? Who are you helping with my money, and what are they doing with it? And you're right, when the United Way Board of Directors adopted outcomes measurements and programs, they adopted a philosophy. They adopted a new way to raise money and a new way to be accountable and efficient with dollars, and to show the donors that that's what we were doing with their money. So I've tried to stay parallel to what the Board of Directors has assigned our objectives to be, and it works fabulously because the board has been so progressive. You and the board of directors have been so progressive about your thinking and staying ahead of the curve and trying to be that step up from just everyone who raises money, that deciding to adopt these philosophies has gone from, when I'm out talking to folks, saying, well, in the years past we have said, here's your money partner agency, go out and do the wonderful things that you do. We appreciate you, we love you, thank you. Now it's to the point where you're asking for these results. You're asking what programs. You're asking how much it costs to fund them. You're asking how many people did you serve? How many more people can you serve? What were your things that held you back? What were the things that helped you move forward? But I can relay that message when I go to speak to large work groups of telling them, now instead of handing them that check, we say to them, here's the check for XYZ program that you're going to run. We want to see these results as kind suggestions. And at the end of the year, we want to know how many people you helped. So it is all about the money.
And
the
what
$1 million.
difference you really made in their lives. You can serve 100 people, but if you really don't make that much difference in their overall lives or improve their lives at all, then you really haven't done much. But how much difference did you make, and did you improve their lives? And
with the new
you met a
objectives,
need.
it's being charted, and you and United Way Board of Directors have that knowledge in front of you that we're making a difference. The money we raise is making a difference. And another way I kind of compare it is, you're right, everybody's out raising money. United Way can serve as that one-stop shop to be able to give a one-time donation combined with other people's donation to make the best use of a lot of money. And that amount of money will help and really help those people that are in need of help. And you know where the money goes, and you know who it's helping, and they report it back. And it's a wonderful way to stand up in front of people and present United Way, to know that we can raise the money for these agencies. Let those agencies do what they do best and take care of the people they take care of on their very small staffs and very small budgets. But let us do this for you for a short 4 months of the year. And let us be the one that helps you this time. And it has been so well received by folks that make donations to United Way, and even those folks that can't afford a donation right now even receive it well too, because they feel United Way is being accountable and efficient with their money, and I think whether they donate or not, they appreciate that.
Well, and I think they're using it also as referrals to other people, their friends, their neighbors, their coworkers. They're saying, well, you need to get in touch with United Way because Zana said in one of the meetings that this was available, that we have a service here, because a lot of folks need service. They don't know where to turn first, and we're a good stop for that. So not only is the money important, but I think the education, everything that we do leads all the way back to serving people in our community to make it a better community, and to meet as many needs. We'll never be able to meet all of the needs. That's very unfortunate, but I don't know any community that has full needs met.
Well, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. When this morning I've made several presentations already, and you talk about the education process, and I do go in with a sheet, just a plain typewritten sheet, and it has the agencies we help raise money for, the number of people they helped, and where exactly United Way dollars go, whether it's to utilities, rent assistance, whether it helps with child care. It writes specifically. And when I go in and make that ask of any group, it could be a group of 2 people, or I've had as many as 300 or 400 people, being able to sit there and talk. The one thing I obviously say in the first is, yes, we need your donations. We need you to help us raise this money. But the second thing I try to get across is the education that you talked about. If I go through this list and tell them the programs that are on this list that United Way dollars fund through these partner agencies, my challenge to them is, of course I want your money. Yes, I want you to make a donation to United Way. But the second thing I want to say to them is, please remember the agencies I've spoke of today with the services that they provide. Keep this list in your pocket, in your purse, in your phone book, close to hand, because you will run into someone who needs some help.
Oh, always. There's always someone that you, usually within a week or sometime during the year. I have had so many of them say, and I'm glad you gave me that information because I was able to refer someone there. And that's a good feeling, because you know that you're out raising funds for some of these programs, and when you see the results of them firsthand, I think that you're able to convince people this is something that makes a difference in our community, and that's what we're going to do more and more of.
And you're exactly right to the fact that after being at United Way for a little over a year, I do know the people the stories are about. I do recognize the things that are happening, the great stories, and it gets you, that's what motivates me to do my job. The third part about even going with that list, and it does go back to the education and the donations. If, as people, we don't open our hearts and minds to those folks who need help that we run into every single day, that may not be the homeless or the hungry. It may be a person that you know very well in your own backyard. And if we don't recognize the fact that they need help at this point in their life, we've done ourselves a disservice and our community a disservice. Because part of the education process is taking on what you know on this sheet and absorbing it and owning it and living it and knowing, I have this gift to give back to you. Isn't that a special thing to do? So last year I campaigned on, I need $1 million, need $1 million. We've never had $1 million. One of the very few agencies in Paducah, McCracken County who have ever raised $1 million in a year.
Exactly.
And it's something to be so proud of.
Yes.
But also I've changed during the process, and a lot of it is because the way the board of directors and your philosophy of how you've taught me to change. There's more to fundraising than fundraising. It's making a difference, changing people's lives, and knowing you've left it better than you found it. So.
Well, and I think that's our goal for all of us. And I will, you've mentioned a couple of times the board of directors. I think United Way in Paducah, McCracken County probably has one of the most forward-thinking boards. I know I talk with my colleagues, particularly across the state. For our size community, we are much further ahead in our thinking and in embracing change. Much more than many of them. They have a board that maybe that just will not change. This has been done this way forever, so why not continue it? You know, that story. But our board of directors here have taken risks. In some of the programs we have funded, they have taken risk in setting aside funds for any nonprofit with emerging needs or emergency crisis needs over the year. I am very proud to be working with them and working for them because they do see the need to run United Way like a business, to be accountable, and I think the accountability in my mind is one of the key issues with any organization that is asking for money. Regardless of whether you're the arts, you're the charitable human service organizations, you've got to be accountable back to somebody.
But
we are.
The part that is so that keeps my interest going and engages me so much is the fact that the board of directors in Paducah, McCracken County, and you are very progressive about your thinking. And folks would be so proud to know how far ahead in the state of Kentucky and nationally that Paducah and McCracken County really is. We're up there raising money with the big boys.
We are.
But the interesting thing about it is, and I have worked for other nonprofits that were national organizations. National organizations raise national money for their national causes. United Way, each United Way is locally. So I know that the money I raise locally stays locally, and a board of directors and board of volunteers, or group of volunteers, make the decisions locally of where the money will go. And it is such a refreshing thing to know that I can stand up and say, behind those dollars, I know where they go, I know who makes those decisions. There is no one in another town making those decisions. There is not a paid staff person making those decisions. It's the folks that donate their hard dollars every single day. And I get such pride to know that I live and work in a community and work for an agency that is professional, but at the same time allows me to go out and speak to the community in a Paducah, McCracken County way. I can talk about Paducah and McCracken County in a way I can connect with people. And because it's local, it gives me that opportunity to do that. If I was still with a national organization, I wouldn't have the confidence to be able to sit there and say those same things.
Well, and I think that's what makes United Way unique, because we are, everyone is United Way across the country. All of us are different. We are, every community is different. We have similarities, but that has always been one of the things that I like best about United Way. For years before I ever began as a staff person with United Way, that concept of local folks running their own business, spending the money here that you've raised here.
Right.
And so I think that and the autonomy of each of us in the different parts of the country, and yet we do a lot of sharing with each other. We do a lot of learning from each other. Why reinvent the wheel if someone has already done that and it looks good and it fits us? We always have to modify. But I think fundraising, since I have been in Paducah, has changed drastically over the years because at one time United Way was the only ball game in town in the payroll deduction. Nobody had that. That's not true anymore. Things change, so you have to change to meet those needs and do a good job and be more accountable and to put United Way and the partner agencies in a position where people will choose them because they know that we are making a difference in our community.
Well, a lot of the way I present United Way to the community comes from suggestions and questions and things that people have asked me, concerns, because I listen so intensely to, I want to know, what is it, what gap am I not covering? And my presentations change all the time, depending on the group I talk to, what they might be interested in. If it's a group of women, I talk to them about women's issues. You have to change. And I really think in the future, nonprofit agencies that keep doing the same thing and don't change at all will be left behind.
I agree, because you can already see that in some of the areas. And I am, again, proud that our United Way and our board is forward enough thinking that they're willing to stick their necks out and to do some different things for small community. And but in thinking about campaign this year as opposed to last year, do you see a difference? This time last year, Hurricane Rita and Katrina was right in our backyard, really, and we had a lot of issues there, a lot of fear in the fundraising part of it, because we didn't know how it was going to affect our ability to raise funds. Do you see a difference this year?
I do see a difference. It's very strange. You and I have had lengthy conversations about what is different, because I think every year it always changes. Last year we did have disaster right in our face. It was on the television, it was on the newspaper, gimme, 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 and United Way stepped up last year in the way they could help by opening the distribution center, which we had a collection agency to ask for specific needs that they were specifically asking for, and that was our role in that. Folks had given money to the national organizations to go down to the coast where it was needed, but at the same time, my case and what I was saying was we still have those people here that have needed, will need. Those instances have not changed. And it was a lot of footwork, a lot of elbow grease, and we did great. We raised $1 million, and it was very tough. This year, I think without any disaster in our face, other than a lot of people have the war on their minds, and obviously that is as devastating as a catastrophe can be. But I almost think somehow the community with the media has made it a little numbing or put it in the back and does not pay as much attention. It has been difficult this year to raise money too, but I do think it's because we've all become a little settled and we feel like we're doing really well, and the economy is doing well right now and things are doing well. And it has been tougher. But then as soon as I say that, a company will turn something in and they will blow my mind because they've collected $10,000 more. So I'm not sure there's ever a rhyme and reason. We have focused, last year our focus, as I said, was $1 million. This year, instead of talking about money, and please give me more and I need more, I've shifted my thinking, as well as direction from the board of directors and you, that yes, it is important to raise that money, but what's important are the people we help and the lives we change. And so you may not see in the newspaper or on the television, or you may not hear as much about $1 million and talking about raising this money. It doesn't mean we're not as dedicated as doing it. We want more than $1 million. We want to help more people. We don't want to have to come to the table and say, I have $500,000 and you have $700,000 worth of needs. Who wants to sit and make that decision about
that's the toughest job.
Yeah. Nobody wants to do that. So of course I want more money to be able to give to the agencies to help the people they help. But at the same time, let's keep talking about people we're helping, the numbers we're helping. Are we improving? Are we addressing things that they say are new needs in the community? That always takes extra money to fund. I think it's a great thing to be able to have your pulse on this community enough to know between your board of directors, your surveys, the Voices Project, listening to the partner agencies when they tell you these are the new issues that are coming up, that United Way can be there for them in such a time of federal, state, and local funding being cut, to be able to say, let us try to raise a little money, let us try to address those needs. And it's, you know, you get blessings come to you. And United Way does do a great job. They are fortunate, and blessings have come our way. But I can get a little greedy and say we'd sure like to have just a little more to help a few more people.
Well, and that's always the big issue, I think, is knowing, and our community investment volunteers who make those decisions on agency funding issues. It's the toughest job we have. Raising money is very tough, but it's also tough to be able to give it out and in a way that you know you're not really hurting someone and keeping them from being served.
And there's never enough money to go around.
Never, because the agencies that we talk with, they have more clients coming in. And I think that's one of the myths in a community like Paducah, McCracken County, that, the economy is well, everybody's okay. They're not. We have hungry children in our schools. We are finding more and more issues of families who do not have what they need, whether it be clothing, food, medication.
And those are the issues that make people cry. They're the ones that break your heart. And I am so sensitive to that. And then on the other hand too, I think about what a difference the death of a spouse could make in the way you raise your family. Someone who had all the food and the training and the family skills, but the death of a spouse, the loss of a job, divorce. Divorce changes the way a lot of people do different. And a lot of the people that we do see come in off the street and that I run into at the agencies, it's very sad because we're all going to have those bumps, and they've got some big ones. And they just need help right now in the place they are.
Just to get them over
over that hump.
Place, yeah.
And a lot of the people we see, I think, come from that. And my heart breaks too, because I even go a step further and think, how hard would it be if I was in that position to ask for help? How hard would it be for me to know where to go? How hard would it be for me to look for somebody to hold their hand out and take me to the place I need to go? And that's kind of where it comes back around in full circle when I am out asking for donations, to make sure and say, watch for those people in your lives, because you all have them. They're there all the time. But if your heart's not open to it, you're not going to see them.
No, you don't. And I think that, and I think your compassion and your passion and the entire United Way staff, because I've lived it for so many years, and I've never lost that passion and compassion for people, because I know the needs and I know how hard it is. Many years ago, I worked for United Way for years and years. When I needed something for my own family, I had no idea where to turn. It was the most frightening thing in the world, and then I had to stop and think, where would I direct someone else? And so that way I was able to get the help that we needed, and that makes the difference. But if people are out there and not knowing this, that's what our job is, to let them know. And you're going to have those times in your life when you need someone else, and that's what we are. That's
it's
what
very
we're
hard
here
for just the three of us to cover the whole city and county.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that's why it's important that our board of directors and myself and people I talk to, we try to engage them to take the news and the information we have and take it a little bit further.
And to be the ambassadors, and that's the key to all of it, is all of us talking the good things and not just finding something negative and honing in on that. But I have sensed a difference in this time in last last year in the campaign time because of the. I think everybody's heart is just so open when there's been a disaster, particularly not in our area. I mean, it's always easier. And this year, it's not a complacency, but it's just that, well, I think they're okay. They'll be all right. And
Interesting that you say that, because a lot of that I do when I do go into a group, and a lot of times people really aren't interested in listening.
Okay.
But the thing that I think it's important to do, and you can call it sales or you can call it whatever it is to go in and I share of myself. I share of stories of myself. When we talk about the HIV and AIDS clinic, you know, the part I can share is I can say, I have a daughter getting ready to go to college. What do I tell her? Don't you think I worry about this? I have a son who's in middle school. Part of the Four Rivers is behavioral and the bullying program. I have a part in this. I have a son that goes to school. It affects all of us. Every single issue in this community, whether or not you're the one needing food or hunger, it all comes back around, it all relates to us. So it's very important to open your heart and listen.
Well, and that's exactly what we do, and that's what the agencies do. And we have just a few minutes to wrap up and talk about your marketing.
Oh, that's the exciting part. That's the exciting part.
Because you're a community person anyway. Everybody knows Zana,
well,
and so that makes it a lot easier to
I
be
don't
able
know about
to sell.
that, but it's interesting because with nonprofits comes no budget. So everything we do at United Way is very creative, try to be innovative, and we try to make it a partnership because there is value in the United Way logo. So we have done everything this year from we're on the back of the transportation buses, we are inside the transportation buses, we've done a backpack program, we had a great insert in the Paducah Sun which had lots of great information in it. We are doing things now that don't cost a lot of money, but it's an awareness. It's an awareness and getting it out there. That education. And it's very interesting. I would challenge people that have never experienced nonprofit to work in the nonprofit world, make a stance of who you are and represent yourself well on a very, very tiny budget. But it's challenging, it's fun, and I look for great things to happen.
Well, I think the next year's most exciting time of our lives, and I would say in the next 5 years. I look forward to that, and it's fun working towards the changes that will come. And so hopefully we'll have over $1 million because we'll have over 1 million folks out there that need help in one way or another. So I'm looking forward to a good ending of this fundraising time and new beginnings in another year. So Zana, thank you for coming aboard with United Way, and thank you for coming over today and having a part in this.
Thank you for having me at United Way. I love it and love you all, and it's a good place to be.
That is wonderful. And for our viewers, thank you for tuning in and watching us and giving us calls when you need something. So keep us in mind because we're here for you. Thank you very much.